Hi, folks. Welcome. I'm going to let people trickle in before we get started. Thank you so much for joining us today for the kickoff of the round 2 of the Natural Climate Solutions Grant Program. I'm Jen McHenry, and I'm a research scientist with the Bureau of Climate Change and Clean Energy at the DEP. As a member of the Natural Climate Solutions grant team, I'll be working closely with future applicants and awardees, and I'm thrilled to be facilitating today's discussion alongside our Bureau Chief, Anthony Bavacqua. We're excited to talk about this new round of funding available for blue and green carbon projects. We look forward to building on the 14 existing projects from the first round of funding of the grant program, which are already creating and enhancing natural carbon sinks across the state. Before we get started, I'd like to cover a few technical items. For those who are new to Microsoft Teams, in the top right corner of your window, you'll find a microphone icon. Please keep your microphone muted unless you're speaking during the Q&A section at the end. And next to the microphone icon is a camera icon to turn on or off your webcam. If you encounter any technical issues during the meeting, please send a message in the chat and DEP staff will be able to assist you. Before we dive in, just a few housekeeping items. Please note that this meeting is being recorded, and by participating, you consent to the recording, which will be available on our website in the coming days for your reference. At the top of the screen in the banner, you'll see a Q&A button next to the chat. You can use this feature to type questions or comments in here. Our staff's going to be moderating the chat and will address your questions at the end of the presentation during that Q&A session. And additionally, we will be providing an FAQ document on the Natural Climate Solutions Grant Program website for further information. We're going to start today's presentation with an overview of the Natural Climate Solutions Grant Program. This will give you a clear understanding of the program's purpose and its scope. After that, we're going to discuss some updates and changes to the program since round 1. This is going to highlight what's new in round 2 and any important modifications from the previous round. We'll then move on to application details and grant timelines. Here, you'll learn about the application process, important deadlines, and key milestones. We will be hosting an application deep dive webinar next week where we will walk through this process in greater detail. So we ask that any specific questions pertaining to the completion and the submission of the application be reserved for that webinar, or you can email us anytime at njclimate@dep.nj.gov. Following that, we're going to dive into the evaluation process. We're going to explain how applications are assessed and what criteria are used to select projects for funding. We're also going to review the new AGO tool, where we'll demonstrate how this tool can assist you in developing your project proposals. Finally, we'll cover the SAGE process overview, which is our grant portal, and provide insights into this critical aspect of our program. So now I'd like to hand it off to our Bureau Chief, Anthony Bavacqua.
Thanks, Jen. Good afternoon. My name's Anthony.
Oh, Anthony, we're not able to hear you.
For joining us today to discuss the second funding round of the Natural Climate Solutions Grant Program. The mission of the Bureau of Climate Change and Clean Energy is to provide technical, planning, and policy support towards greenhouse gas mitigation, supporting the state in achieving a 50% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 and an 80% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. Our scope of work includes administering the Natural Climate Solutions Grant Program, managing the state's participation and strategic use of proceeds from the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, administering the Greenhouse Gas monitoring and reporting rule, iterative development and release of the New Jersey greenhouse gas inventory, and supporting many other climate mitigation, clean energy, and building decarbonization efforts and related policies and programs through technical research, public-facing reports and documentation, and the development of place-based geospatial data and tools. Thank you. The impacts of climate change are expansive, spanning global and local scales. Climate hazards we face in New Jersey include, but are not limited to, extreme weather events, increased frequency of inland and coastal flooding, droughts and wildfire risks, loss of habitat, and other ecological stressors. These hazards not only pose a direct threat to human health and quality of life, but also hinders critical economic drivers such as on-road and maritime transportation, marine fisheries, and tourism. Anthropogenic climate change is driven by greenhouse gas emissions across sectors. Strategies to mitigate the impacts of climate change are centered around reducing greenhouse gases being released into the atmosphere by driving down emissions through renewable energy, clean transportation, and energy efficiency adoption. It is also important that we bolster natural carbon sinks, such as forests and coastal ecosystems, to reduce greenhouse gases that have already been released. New Jersey's Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, or RGGI, is a unique example of a program that targets both the reduction of emissions and the strengthening of these natural carbon sinks. Funding for this grant program is made available through New Jersey's participation in the Regional RGGI program, which is a cooperative effort among states to reduce power sector greenhouse gas emissions, specifically large grid supply fossil fuel generators. In this regional market-based cap and invest program, states participate through independent regulations based on common program objectives. Regulated entities such as power plant owners and operators comply with state rules by purchasing carbon dioxide allowances proportional to their emissions. States then strategically reinvest compliance proceeds in programs that further mitigate climate change and support ratepayers. In rejoining this initiative in 2020, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, Economic Development Authority, and Board of Public Utilities have funded nearly 400 individual projects totaling more than $200 million, with an estimated total carbon dioxide emissions avoided of over 600,000 metric tons and 36,000 tons sequestered over project lifetimes. The New Jersey Global Warming Response Act and Global Warming Solutions Fund Act authorize the DEP to participate in the interstate RGGI program through the CO2 budget trading rule and develop strategic funding initiatives with our partner agencies through the Global Warming Solutions Fund rule and subsequent iterative strategic funding plans. Strategic funding plan initiatives include accelerating healthy homes and building decarbonization, catalyze clean, equitable transportation, strengthen New Jersey's forests, promote blue carbon sequestration in coastal habitats, and increase rates of clean energy adoption and workforce development through the New Jersey Green Bank. As a proud New Jersey native, I never miss the chance to point out the many ways in which our densely populated state punches above its weight class. With 2 million acres of forested land, 290,000 acres of saltwater wetlands, and 1,800 miles of tidal coastline, representing annual ecosystem service values of $2 billion in forest ecosystems, over $420 million of urban green space, and $9 billion of wetland ecosystem services. We are home to productive natural systems and motivated individuals and organizations that can deliver successful sequestration projects while supporting communities, thus making New Jersey a prime geography to operate a program such as this. Following the direction of the New Jersey RGGI Strategic Funding Plan, the objective of the Natural Climate Solutions Grant Program is to support the implementation of on-the-ground projects that bolster New Jersey's natural carbon sinks while simultaneously adding value through co-benefits, targeting environmental quality, ecosystem services, and local communities. Project categories for this grant program include living shorelines that address the loss of vegetated shorelines, beaches, and coastal habitats, restoring flows in tidal wetlands that focus on increasing salinity to decrease methane and sedimentation, restoration of tidal salt marshes to increase cover of native vegetation in brackish and saltwater wetlands, forest restoration projects that establish or reestablish forest communities and carbon sequestration trajectories with native vegetation and degraded forests, former agricultural fields, or other deforested areas. And finally, urban forest canopy and water quality enhancement. This grant program was first launched in 2022 and awarded a total of $24.3 million, supporting 14 individual blue and green carbon sequestration projects throughout the state, with a total estimated lifetime carbon sequestration of 33,000 metric tons of CO2e. The initial round was successful in providing funding to a diverse portfolio of projects and served to support partnerships among many organizations, spanning local governments, private firms, and both conservation and community organizations. As illustrated in this figure, we engaged with 41 partners and were fortunate enough for them to bring in additional funding to catalyze this program and make these projects bigger and more impactful. Next slide, please. We invite the audience today to explore the round one projects, whether by viewing the recording of the project showcase we held, but they can also get additional project details for all 14 through our interactive story map, which is available on our website. Next slide, please. We are committed to continuously improving our program and the responsible use of RGGI funds. To inform our implementation of the second funding round, we interviewed round one participants, explored other similar programs outside of the state to inform ours, and also made efforts to improve operational efficiency by reviewing administrative resource requirements and procedures to reduce barriers and update our evaluation process. The objective, oh, that's all right. You can stay there. To the next one, please. All right, so program changes are detailed in the notice of funding announcement, now also available on our website, and are reflected in the table shown here. We've transitioned the application period to a rolling application to allow more flexibility and support partnerships. We've removed the match requirement for non-private landowners. We've transitioned to a non-competitive model where applicants are evaluated independent of other proposals. We've removed submerged aquatic vegetation as an applicable project type based on availability. We've updated our application process. And finally, we've raised the total funding amount to $30 million. So the funding availability is $30 million in total. Grant awards may range from $250,000 to $5 million per project. And 50% of the funds will initially be allocated evenly between blue carbon and green carbon project types. The department reserves the right to transfer funding between blue and green carbon project carve-outs after a period of 180 days from the commencement of the application period starting on August 4th, 2025, which will be January 3rd, 2026. This is a rolling application period with funding awarded on a first come, first served basis. The application period is open until August 31st, 2026, or until funds are exhausted. Earlier this month, we hosted a project showcase with 4 of our round one grant recipients, where they highlighted their projects and practices. The recording of this showcase can be found on our website, along with the recording of this webinar today, as well as the application deep dive webinar that we'll be hosting next week, where we will discuss in detail the application materials and process. So, office hours. We will be hosting office hours for the first week of the application period to support applicants and answer any questions you may have. Actually, they'll be spanning more than just that first week. Excuse me. To schedule a one-on-one with DEP staff during these times, please reach out to the email listed below. Thank you. Back to you, Jen.
Right. So we have developed 2 project category types, blue carbon projects and green carbon projects. The blue carbon, that's the catch-all term we're using to describe the tidal wetland focused projects, and it's the term for carbon captured and stored by the world's coastal ecosystems. These coastal systems, though much smaller in size than a planet's forests, sequester carbon at a much faster rate and can continue to do so for millions of years. Most of the carbon taken up by these ecosystems is stored below ground where we can't see it, but it's still there. The 3 project types that are eligible for funding are living shoreline projects that address the loss of vegetated shorelines by focusing on protecting against the erosion of carbon-rich soils in tidal wetlands, restoring tidal flows in tidal wetlands. These projects are going to focus on increasing salinity to decrease the methane production and may also target increased sedimentation and vegetation cover. And the third blue carbon project type is tidal salt marsh vegetation restoration. These projects will increase the cover of native salt marsh vegetation. Green carbon refers to projects related to forests and tree canopies. Forests are widely recognized as important carbon sinks, which are ecosystems capable of capturing and storing large amounts of carbon dioxide. And while old growth forests play an important role in storing carbon, younger regenerated forests typically pull more carbon from the atmosphere than these older forests. Eligible project types include forest restoration and afforestation, as well as urban forestry projects. The Natural Climate Solution grant funds may not be used for any of the following purposes. I'll just highlight a few. This is listed in the notice of funding and will be available after this. So can't be used to purchase land or any major capital improvements, the purchase of promotional items, the purchase and planting of invasive species or species that are listed as rare or endangered by the New Jersey Natural Heritage Program, purchasing and planting of shrub species, upland native seed mix, or upland herbaceous plants, equipment greater than $10,000. And please note that costs incurred prior to an award or contract start date or after the contract end date will not be able to be reimbursed. We are trying to encourage as many applicants and project proposals as possible. So we have very open eligibility requirements. Applicants eligible to apply for this funding include state, county, and local government units within New Jersey, including state government agencies or school boards, New Jersey universities and colleges, interstate agencies of which New Jersey is a member, private landowners owning property in New Jersey, but they must provide at least 25% matching funds, and nonprofit organizations recognized by the IRS as a 501c3. So the way the grant process for the rolling admissions is going to work, the first step is really the initiation phase. So this process begins when an applicant submits their proposal to the department. And as we're using rolling admissions this time, this process will include that once the proposals are accepted and reviewed, it's a continuous basis and it's first come, first serve. This is one of the changes from round one. And once you receive your application, we will acknowledge it. We'll confirm receipt of your proposal. This won't be an acceptance or rejection, just that we have received it. The department will then assess if the project meets basic program requirements. If it does not meet requirements or it fails to achieve a score of 75 or higher, and we'll talk about this in the more technical review, we'll let you know, and then you'll be able to revise and resubmit. If the project does meet the initial program requirements, the DEP conducts a more thorough technical review. For a project to be considered for an award, it must meet all requirements and achieve a score of 75 or higher on our scoring rubric. The department will notify applicants about their project status within 120 days after they have submitted a complete application. Just a note about timing. The timing for the announcements can vary significantly due to the rolling application and the availability of funding. The DEP will inform applicants once funding is exhausted and will keep their applications on file for future consideration if more funding becomes available. And then post-award, the DEP will meet with all awardees. The purpose of this meeting is to execute the necessary requirement agreements and to establish how project progress will be monitored throughout the grant period. The department will evaluate projects based on the following criteria: capacity and expertise, place-based information such as GIS and reports from the application support tool, establish partnerships for implementation and maintenance, authority and access to project sites, complete designs and secured permits, consistency with local, state, and federal regulations, project viability and readiness for implementation, project completeness within 3 years, the use of native New Jersey species, and community support. We'll be using 10 scoring criteria to evaluate submitted proposals in the NCS grant program. This is discussed in greater detail in the notice of funding opportunity, but we'll go through some of it now. So project applicability is going to refer to the degree to which the proposal addresses one or more of the project types identified. Carbon sequestration potential refers to the degree to which the proposal would achieve a net sequestration of carbon dioxide. This is defined as when the balance of carbon stored or captured is greater due to the implementation of the project. The project benefits an overburdened community. So this is going to be scored based on whether the applicant shows how the project is in or benefits an OBC and the degree to which the project is supported by that community. Project readiness or constructability refers to project feasibility, the degree to which the project is shovel ready. Whether the proposal includes construction drawings with designs and specifications for the project, consistency with existing local, state, and federal requirements, and the ability to attain necessary permits, as well as the degree of community engagement and/or support for the project. Capability refers to the degree to which the applicant has demonstrated an ability to manage and complete the project successfully by implementing projects of a similar scope or by proposing a specific project team. Budget will be scored based on the level of detail the applicant provides in the budget, such as does it meet the requirements specified in the application? Does it identify cost units and unit prices, etc.? Cost effectiveness will be scored, will be based on the applicant's ability to cost effectively sequester carbon dioxide. Leverage will provide points to applicants that are able to leverage other funding sources to complete their projects. Points will be given on a graduated scale. Public applicants will receive 2 points for a funding match under 25% and up to 8 points for funding matches that are 75% to 90% of the project costs. Private for-profit applicants are required to have at least a 25% funding match and can receive up to 6 points for matching at least 75% of the project costs. The schedule score will be based on if the proposal meets the requirements for the implementation schedule and the level of detail provided, such as does the schedule capture all components of the project, like permitting and other approvals, site prep, mobilization, material purchase, equipment and supply, transportation, and phases of the project. And lastly, the co-benefits are defined as social, economic, or environmental benefits that will be realized due to the implementation of the project beyond the primary benefits of greenhouse gases being reduced or the increase in carbon sequestration. Co-benefits include but are not limited to creating new outdoor recreation space, enhancing habitat, and increasing resilience. And we'll talk about this a little bit more at a later time. And now I'm going to hand it off to Ryan
Can you hear me,
Gergelli. Yes, I
off mute?
can,
Cool.
and he's going to walk us through this.
Great. My name is Ryan Gergelli. I'm a research scientist with the Bureau of Climate Change and Clean Energy. So to assist applicants in round 2 of the NCS program, we developed an online mapping tool, which I'm going to quickly demo. And this tool will be demoed in much more detail in the webinar next week that was talked about. And the link to everything with this mapping tool will be linked on our webpage, as well as included in the NCS round 2 materials. So if you can go ahead and start that video for me, Jen, that'd be great. Cool. So once the tool is launched, users will see a splash screen in the middle that provides background information on the NCS program, as well as some quick information about the intended uses of the mapping tool. From there, the mapping tool has a number of different components, starting with 2 buttons at the top, where users can select between blue carbon or green carbon projects, depending on the category of their proposed project. Along the right side, there's a text pane with information about the tool and how it can be used in more detail. Users can then go to the address search bar and input the location of their proposed project, and doing so will zoom into that location on the map. Using the base map gallery, aerial imagery or even hybrid imagery that shows roadways can also be toggled on to help you better identify your proposed project location. We have a number of data layers included in the tool already, such as things like parcel boundaries, which can also be turned on to better locate that proposed site. From there, you can zoom in a little bit better, locate that proposed project site, such as the example here, that's just totally a random site. But once one of the requirements of the tool is generating, exporting a site map, which can be done by either uploading 1 or more shapefiles if you have them, or using the draw function to outline the proposed area and annotate the map with other things like points or text boxes. Once that boundary is drawn, users have the ability to toggle on and off some of the various data layers included in the tool to see where and how they may intersect with the proposed site, such as things like land use or open space, for example. I'll touch on exporting these maps in 1 second. We've also included a co-benefit report function on the pane on the left side of the mapping tool, and this enables the user to again draw a polygon around their proposed site, which when completed will generate a report that identifies all of the different data layers that intersect with that proposed site. This co-benefit report can be customized and named and exported as a PDF, which is actually a requirement to be submitted alongside your application. And this is just showing what that co-benefit report looks like. Lastly, I mentioned exporting. So on the far right of the toolbar up top is the print function. And this is where maps such as the required sitemap and any other additional supplemental maps can be generated and exported as PDFs that can also be submitted with the application, as requirements or as supplemental documents. That's all I have. feel free to tune in next week for much more information about this mapping tool. Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Ryan. Right, so now we welcome your questions regarding the NCS program and this funding opportunity and associated requirements. Questions regarding the actual application completion process and submission of the application, including what Ryan just demoed for us. We'll be taking those next week in that application deep dive. So please feel free to type your questions into the Q&A. I see that we have a couple that have come in. And if you think of something later, you can always email us. We'll drop the links in the chat for our email. But yes, so I will ask my team to help me with the Q&A.